it's strange when you have two individuals from the same group within the military in one location, and it's very unusual to have two warrant officers in the same location. So I'm honored to have Larry as our guest today. Although Larry has a few more years than I do, Larry is a Vietnam and Iraqi veteran with 42 years of military active and reserve service. Absolutely. Larry retired from the service in August of 2012 and is the last full-time active duty Vietnam aviator on the rolls. Larry's also known and renowned for his distinguished military service and is a speaker at the veteran recognition or dedication events. Larry is part of a film that was called In the Shadow of the Blade, and again, I guess there's only two of us in the room today that are Huey guys, so that's touched both of us deeply. Just so you understand what a warrant officer is, warrant officers are highly specialized single-track specialty officers who receive their authority from the Secretary of the Army upon initial appointment. Commissioned officers, warrant officers are direct representatives of the President of the United States. They are technically, tactically experts and proficient in their skills. They provide the guidance and expertise to the commanders and organizations of their particular field. Without further ado, I introduce Larry Castagneto.
Gotta get my eyes on. One of the things about getting old, can't see nothing anymore without it. And thank you for coming today. You know, it's great to be here in Ohio to see all these great American patriots out here. And some of my fellow vets that I served with in Iraq. With my fellow brothers that I served with, please wave their hand or stand. Well, there's Doug and there's Eric Molesky and right there. All right. You'll always be part of my family. I want you to know I'm truly honored and humbled to be asked to speak here at this memorial celebration on this special day. And I hope in my own inadequate way that I live up to that honor that you've bestowed upon me. I have to admit, though, I feel a little exposed here. I'm an Alabama man in Buckeye country. Talk about being in the line of fire. But I got to stand my ground. I got to do it. Sorry, but roll, tide, roll. And of course, go Buckeyes. I would like to thank Doug, your mayor, for inviting me to come, and all you American patriots, my fellow vets, for coming today. My speech today will both be respectful, honoring, poetic at parts, but I must warn you, some of it will be blunt and to the point, maybe even stinging, as I outline our responsibilities as veterans and citizens to this nation. How can we honor all those who have fallen and sacrificed to this great nation and its people throughout our history? How? By living the American ideals daily. It is a day that we should also remember and honor the families of those lost heroes and their sacrifice. The load they have endured and shouldered. The pain of that war is never over for them. Today we should remember and honor all the broken, fractured, and maimed veterans that have returned from combat. Time to reflect on a day-to-day battles that they and their families have to deal with. Their war is never over either. We must remember and honor all these special heroes and American patriots. We as a nation of people must grasp and realize they are and were from the living among us, our citizens, our protectors, someone's son, daughter, father, brother, or mother. The family's pain of their sacrifice is not over, and is an everlasting love of labor. Memorial Day for most is a 3-day weekend filled with barbecues, picnics, parades, a time to get away from the normal humdrum of the week. For others, it's the beginning of the summer, time to look forward to the long, lazy days and a time to plan your summer days and weekend getaways. But for some, Memorial Day holds a very special significance, especially for those that have lost loved ones, and a special day to veterans and their families. It is a day set aside for this observance across the nation and around the world for our serving armed forces. Citizens, it should be not just today or better yet. How about every day of our lives? As many of you, I expect, I'm a combat veteran, a veteran of Vietnam and Iraq. Like many veterans of my generation, we grew up the sons of World War II veterans. We were raised on the movies, the TV programs of time, exposing us to the glory, the struggle of our soldiers and sailors and nation. We learned well and had it ingrained to us the terms courage, sacrifice, and duty, and the important significance of them. So when it came my time to serve, there was little or no choice. I was raised in the military from the day I was born. Though I did not always agree with the political concept of the mission or war in Vietnam or Iraq, I served. I knew it was my duty to serve, to follow in my father, my past grandfathers, and my grandfather's fathers' footsteps in defense of this nation and the world, to be there for my fellow brothers and sisters serving. As for most combat veterans, it did not take long for my time in combat in Vietnam to understand that to the soldier in combat, there is no politics. There is no glory. There is no honor, no red, white, and blue, apple pie, or Chevrolet. Just hell. And all those childhood ideals were replaced with an intense drive to fight for each other so we could survive and all get home. We were there for each other, not as Democrats or Republicans or liberals or conservatives or Christians or Jews or Muslims or atheists, rich or poor, Mexican, black, white. It didn't matter. We were there for each other. Brothers and sisters with one mission under God for this nation. We soldiers know the horror and cruelty of war, the taste of blood in our mouths and the salty sting of tears on our cheeks. We endure this even today, the sleepless nights, the pain, the scars in our souls from the horror. We've seen, changed forever from a youth and innocence that was stolen and lost in the heat of battles. To the soldier that has survived the tempest of battles, these are things that will never go away. Sights, sounds, smells in those awful days. But through it all, we endured. We became better, stronger. Though wounded in spirit and soul from the experience, but amazingly, I would assume, or pretty much guarantee, that all my other fellow vets out there, if they were asked to do it again, they would stand up and say, yes, with pride. I will gladly lay my life on the line again. So as I was thinking of what to say today, my words came out both as a poem and an essay. So I asked myself, who are these heroes? They are the person who puts their life on the line, who wrote a blank check to the service for this nation and the world. They have stood the test of time and have endured every trial, been the keepers of the peace. It is their unselfish devotion that is the cornerstone of this nation and why it has endured. They salute the flag with a sincere, deep reverence and pride. It is they and their loved ones who served under that flag. It is the service member who will be buried under that flag. When the flag is completely folded and the stars are facing above and handed to the next of kin, this indicates that this hero's time and mission are done, serving those famous words of duty, honor, and country. They stood firm with valor and sacrifice in the blistering, pages get stuck together, huh? They served in the early days of the Revolutionary War, those boys who fought with George, and the men who fought with New Orleans action with General Jackson. They faced the raps of fire in Gettysburg and stood silently to taps. They went to trenches in France, held the line till the war was done and the peace was won. They held sway for those in Normandy and those that died in that awful day in Pearl Harbor. They were the young men and women under the Southern Cross in Guadalcanal of the U.S. Marines and the AmeriCal. They were the men and women of the Navy and Air, saving the day at Midway, turning the change of the war. They were the pilots and crews facing the flak and the attack of fighters. knowing that many would not come back on their missions over Bremen. They stood with valor and sacrifice in the blistering days of harm in a land called Vietnam, and the men of X-ray holding sway for a commander called Moore that day. As the world watched, they are the souls that carried the load and weight in the sandbox of Kuwait. They stood for decades like beacons of freedom and safety in Germany, Japan, Korea, Bosnia, Somalia, and other strange places, keeping the peace while looking into the hating eyes of those foreign faces. They think back to their days in Iraq, heads down and sad, for someone's son killed in Baghdad, and pray for the young heroes making a stand in the cold and dangerous hills of Afghanistan. They stood for the flag and for which it stands. They stood at the front at all to ensure that at all time this flag shall not fall. I ask, what is it makes these great patriots and warriors? Only God knows. More importantly, we must ask, what is it that they ask for their sacrifice in return? The answer I get, all I want and all I have ever asked is for you to remember they fought, bled, and some died. And I hope that they and their families matter to you as much as you and this nation meant to them. So I ask you to go forward, remembering the legacy of those who came before us, as we honor them today, and should every day, with our servant leadership. We've all seen the recent operations of Desert Storm, Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, that we, the American people, have been once again thrust into a position of remembering those who are fighting and dying. The numbers keep growing daily. The courage and sacrifice continues in our young. We must remember these are not faceless beings. These are our young, our future. They today lived, as we did, embodying as previous warriors, the words of the oath of this country that when we enlisted. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and will bear true faith to that allegiance. This passage of oath taken by every service member exemplifies the reason why members and their families endure what they do every day. They are defenders of the principles that made this country great. Veterans, I mind you, that oath did not end when you took off the uniform. It is a lifetime oath. And until that flag is placed on your casket, then only are you relieved of duty. Now that we see our young arrive back broken and maimed from a foreign land, we should realize a major threat also came home with them. That there's a hidden enemy from the battles going on inside. Our young men and women, they need our help. As we meet today, during these few minutes we spend observing Memorial Day and remembering, some veteran somewhere or some service member today serving in the military will commit suicide. And I don't mean one. The numbers are staggering. Some man or woman who is wearing or has worn our uniform will die of self-inflicted injury. And it will happen in this hour as we sit celebrating this day. And if you wonder whether it's an epidemic, something new, let me assure you that it is not. It is more frequent today, but it is not unique. At some point in time, the numbers of the suicides will exceed the numbers of the deaths related to combat wounds in Afghanistan and Iraq. One of the main barriers to help for these exceptional warriors is the usual attitudes and feelings of how weak those must be who take their own life, and the stigma of mental or emotional problems. It's exactly that attitude that has kept service members and veterans from seeking help when understanding, compassion are the best medicine. It is proven that when a veteran or their family receives help or love acceptance, it significantly lowers the probability of that individual taking his or her life. Yes, we've all heard the news reports about the broken VA system. Well, I assure you that the VA today is far, far, far better than it was decades ago. But again, it is an overloaded system run by government bureaucracy. A lot more still needs to be done. But what we as veterans and citizens must realize is the VA should not be the first and last end-all for these veterans. It is we who should be. We citizens, most surely my fellow veterans, We need to carry that load. They are our sons and daughters. They're our sisters. They're our family members and our fellow veterans. We were taught a simple rule in combat. We took care of each other and depended on each other. We left no one behind. We watched each other's back. We were there for each other. And we need to be today. We never wanted to leave anyone behind, and we would risk our lives to recover them, dead or alive. But we are still citizen soldiers. Most importantly, citizens of this great country. And we should always honor it by being there, leading the way, setting the example for our fellow citizens. This is how we honor our fallen dead daily. It is our responsibility and duty to each other. Anything less would be a disservice to our lost heroes through the ages and our fellow veterans. It is we veterans who should be the front line of care, refuge for our brothers and sisters, veterans who need help. We should be out there, actively searching them out, be there, for it's only we that truly understand the pain they are feeling. I challenge you, please, all of you, veterans, citizens, reach out. Lend a hand to a homeless or broken veteran or family. Make sure they're not cast aside as a burden or cost to the government, whether it's local, state, or national. Be there for your family. Stand accounted for. If we don't, we dishonor all those that have died in the service of this nation. We as a nation must understand that this nation and our Constitution belongs to all of us. That we are the owners, that we are the ones that should ensure that our young are not wasted in trumped-up wars for money, power, politics, corporate greed, or hate. We are the keepers of the flame, not the government, not our education system, not the justice system, not the police departments, not the press, but us. We are the keepers of the flame. It is we who allow whatever happens due to our lack of vigilance. It is our own ignorance, complacency, greed, lack of interest or indifference, and hate for each other that is the real enemy of this nation. So be there. It is we as a nation who shoulder the blame, not the President or the Congress, but we the people who have allowed this by standing by quietly, watching, allowing forces to split us apart, hating each other, labeling us African American, Asian American, Indian American, rich, poor, educated. We're all Americans. Since when was a man judged on what party he was a member of? Why do we label us, split us, all for greed, for the benefit of the elite and their agendas, distracting us, keeping us fighting each other in order to further their greedy agendas? We espouse to be a Christian nation, living as his teaching and his ideals, the American way. But we need to live up to those claims by living in daily the teachings of our Lord and Savior. Those virtues of compassion, forgiveness, acceptance, love, generosity, and being thy brother's keeper, all brothers. This is how we honor our dead. This is how we honor our veterans. Every day, servant leadership. As I stated before, veterans, we're the one together in combat, not separated by labels or race or creed. So I ask, why, as we as veterans, why in God's name do we allow it from our leaders, politically, religiously, the press, the media, to make us do it today? Why? 30-second sound bites. Why do we allow the hate mongers and preachers to grow so powerful and do exactly what they want, their wolves in sheep's clothing, while we become sheep doing their dirty work, working and fighting and hating each other? Why? Who are we? We're all Americans. Every single person in this nation. All of us. Otherwise, we truly dishonor our dead through the history. Was all for nothing or not. Be there, please, every day. It is our solemn responsibility as a citizen. Now to my fellow veterans, we need to lead. We need to be the point of the spear, to carry the load, as we always have. The 1% who gave and risked all for the 99%. We must lead. We must be the example. That is how we honor our fallen heroes. Veterans, I challenge all of you to get up, become active. Remember who you are, what you are, where you come from, and that you are still needed, even if we've gotten old, fat, bald, and gray. I challenge all veterans and their families to be there. Citizens, if we are complacent and uncompassionate, we do not deserve this great nation that they died for. We are all Americans, and we all want the same thing. A strong, peaceful, healthy America, regardless of Democrat, liberal, Protestant, Catholic, black, white. It doesn't matter, and we best start understanding that and stop letting these people get us at each other's throats. This is how we remember and honor our dead and maimed every day. But with your own servant leadership and help, I again ask you and challenge you. So again, I thank you for asking me to speak to us, this great community, on this special day. To the veterans, I thank you all for your service to this country. To the veterans, I remind you, your duty's not over till that flag is draped over us. Our country needs you more than ever today. On the home front, be there as a healer, a savior, a unifier, not a divider. Remember our days in the foxholes, gentlemen and ladies. At this time, I would especially like to recognize any of those families that have lost family members or loved ones in the defense of this nation since World War II. Please stand. Anybody, if you lost an uncle, grandfather, father, anybody, please stand and wave your hand. Well, I can't see you out there. I'm sure there's somebody. Well, thank you, man. I thank you. I would especially like to recognize all the veterans. Please wave, stand, show. Thank you. I thank you. I tip my hat to your sacrifice, all of you. And as I close, I hope and pray, may no soldier go unloved or cared for. May no soldier ever walk alone. Hey, Doug, you didn't put in a request to stop the wind. May no soldier or their families be forgotten till they all come home and their time is done. As the sun sets in the west tonight, if you listen close, you will hear the voices of those that went before us. We are at peace, and so should you be, and so should you be. Again, I thank you all for coming. Veterans, I thank you for your service. Welcome home. May God bless you. May God bless our lost, our disabled, our missing. May God bless their families. May God bless our armed forces all over the world to keep them safe. God bless America. And remember, every day, please, be there. Thank you.